everyone, and welcome to this Videos on Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield, and well, it's taken me pretty much near as damn it 9 months, but we are finally back with the Gigabyte G31M ES2L motherboard. Some of you will remember that this was the original board that was meant for the LNX case, and I was going to install it, but then I realised I didn't actually have a blanking plate that would fit the board. Well, I'm hoping all that has changed now, because after 9 months I decided to cave in and order a blanking plate from the States for more than it was worth. All in, this wee bit of very thin aluminium cost me about 30 quid. And just because I needed the speaker holes, the holes for the microphone, speaker and line-in connectors to be offset a wee bit, because normally you'll have either some a wee bit up closer to the USB ports, or you'll have some at the bottom, or you'll have, you know, in the cases of boards with six channel audio support, you might have 2 rows, one above and one below. But this board seems to be a wee bit non-standard in that it has the placement of these kind of somewhere in the middle. So I really am hoping that this actually works. Now, some of you will also remember that since my Freecycle video, my video of the Freecycle machine that was in the LNX case, that I actually swapped all the components out. I decided to put them in the Leon Lee case instead. Oh, and that's my washing done. Brilliant. So, this means that the LNX case, once again, is free of a motherboard. So, what we're going to do is we're going to populate it with one. Now, some of you will have guessed, this case now does contain a power supply, albeit not a very powerful one, but one that I got off Freecycle that hopefully should do the job. Dual optical drives, DVD-RW, and a CD-ROM slash DVD, CDRW slash DVD-ROM. And it seems that, also it seems that I've came down with a case of Silverfinger. Look at that. Oh, jings. I just got over the Silverfinger. Come on. Tell you what that is actually. It's a blooming thermal grease. Honestly, the guy at PC World that I spoke to back in 2012 when I was dealing with the thermal compound for the first time, he was right. He actually did say that, you know, once you get thermal paste, thermal paste, it'll just get everywhere. Seriously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump cut and I'm going to wash my hands yet again. Really kind of living up to the OCD stereotype tonight, guys. And also I seem to be molting like a cat. And just in case you're wondering, I don't know how I've managed to get all the way to 2012 without greasing up a processor really good either. I would probably say that there might have been a bodged reinstallation back in 2005. Anyway, first things first, let's unwrap this brand new blanking plate, at least I think it's brand new, and install it into the case, shall we? This is just like Christmas, so it is. There we go. Look at this. I'm just going to savour the moment. The most expensive blanking plate I've ever held. First of all, we're going to see if it actually fits. Now I know there's at least one hole that will need punched out, and that's the one for the VGA socket. And that's okay, at least it's not been covered. All I need to do is just kind of worry this wee bit of metal, twist it, and it just kind of pops right out. Not a problem. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of line these up, and we see that this is in fact a perfect fit. Brilliant. I'm really quite fancying getting this system up and running and Freecycled off now. Right, so I'll just make sure I've got the blanking plate the right way up. All you need to do is just where this you'll have a blank space in the case where the IO plate will go, IO shield. All you need to do, and you'll notice a wee bit of a, there's wee notches in the IO shield that'll kind of hold it in place. All you need to do therefore is just kind of position it against the opening, and then just kind of push it, just gently but firmly kind of push it in. There we go. Boom. Boom. And then just kind of give it a wee nudge around the edges. There we go. Blanking plate is now installed. And then what I want to, oh my goodness. What I want to do is actually agree with Luke that Intel coolers are from the 775 period were absolute crap. But then what I want to do after I've done that is to marvel how small the board is compared to the last one I had installed in here, how narrow it is, and therefore how much easier it is to actually manoeuvre it. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. It's as sweet as a nut. It's almost as if this case were made for this board. Yeah. Jings. Right, okay. Now it's time to start dropping screws in. Let's not just kind of drop them in haphazardly, because then they'll be rattling about and the board won't get screwed in. But let's actually screw them into the correct holes. Let's see if the holes line up, or whether that motherboard sliding perfectly well in was just a wee bit of beginner's luck. Right. Now here I'm being kind of held back by my vision, because I can't actually see the screw holes. They are there though. I am aware of their existence, so please don't worry too much. You can probably see them, and you're probably yelling at the screen going, how am I missing this? But that is not going to help me. So please quieten down, because you might disturb someone in your house if you're watching this video and this, and someone else is in the, wherever you are watching it. Excellent. Found one of the screw holes. And there's a screw in it. And here's another one. There we go. Oh, I would like to also tell you, actually, while I'm doing this, before I started this video, I did sit down and I did a bit of cleaning up. The heatsink actually fell off the board while it was in the bag, but I was able to refit it. Before I did that, though, I cleaned it off and cleaned the processor off, and while I was doing that, I thought I'd take a look at what processor it was, because last time we were with this board, it was literally going to be a case of I was going to switch it on and find out what it was. I'd been told it was possibly a Pentium D. Thing is, while it possibly could have been a Pentium D, it was actually a Pentium 4. Clocked at 2.93 gigahertz. So that came straight out. And instead, the Conroe Core 2 Duo that was originally in my Dell Optiplex 380 Media Center has gone into this board instead. And you know, I always had my suspicions about how well the newer chipsets would work with older processors like the Connie. But you know, I was chatting to LML3 about that, and you know, he said, well, certainly the G31M, you know, it should just work with anything, and there should be no power strangulation at all. So, but then again, I did have the Shitrock in 2012, which was a G41M, but that was a Core 2 Quad, clocked at 2.4 gigahertz. Can't help feeling I should be saying that in an Australian accent. The Core 2 Quad clocked at 2.4 gigahertz. And that was a Kentsfield, which is basically two Connies stuck together. Each bringing with them 4 megabytes of cache to give you a grand total of 8 megabytes of cache, which was a lot of cache for a processor back in 2008. Right, good. I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of, yep, I'll drop this last screw in. Now the RAM situation, I have added some. I actually did buy some memory. I got a Gigabyte with the board that I bought that I was going to make myself a Core 2 Duo system out of. I got a gig of RAM. Unfortunately, that board has not worked out. So I've taken the 1 gig of RAM and I put it with this board and coupled it up to a 2 gig stick, which I also bought. It was going to go in that machine. Now, well, 3 gigs of RAM is a nice wee amount of RAM to, you know, be doing basic tasks, such as what this computer will probably be for. It does mean it might not necessarily be in dual channel mode. I know motherboards now can dual channel a single stick of memory, which is quite neat, but I'm not sure whether this one can or not. When dual channel first came out, you actually had to match your modules to be able to get dual channel mode. Anyway, time to start plugging some connectors up. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to plug in the 4-pin connector. Right, I'm just going to... Yeah, it actually goes the other way on this board. Right, so it's a bit fiddly here because, you know, 4-pin connectors here, right between the CPU's heatsink and the power supply. But there we go. That's in. What I'll do is I'll just kind of see about getting you guys a better view of the board. Right, and I know that this is only a 20-pin connector going into a 24-pin board, but it should work. Again, you know, if you have the option, you know, do try go for a 24-pin connector. Right. Now it's time for me to start connecting up things like the audio. Whoops-a-daisy. The audio and the USB ports. Now I don't know where the audio out is on this board. I'll have a wee scout round. If I can't find it, then it'll be in the manual. Well, I don't seem to be finding it. I'm going to be completely honest here, I don't seem to be finding it, so I will actually check the service manual. However, the USB ports, I am able to find. So what I'll do, I will just kind of check where the keys are on these ports. And I will plug the card reader into USB into the second header. Hopefully get it in the right way. These headers are very close together on this board. So it's this card reader is a cheap, nasty piece of absolute rubbish. And as such, the connector is not keyed. Yeah, I would say that this is a USB connector as well. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll just get that plugged in as well. So, like I said, I mean it's there we go. So that is the two USB headers plugged in. And now it's really starting to annoy me where the audio header is. I mean, any other headers on these boards would be, you know, kind of down near the bottom where the USB headers are. Let's not worry about that yet though. We've got better things to be worrying about. For example, let's get the front panel headers connected up. Now I actually did do a wee bit of reading, so now I know exactly where everything gets connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, first things first, because it's separate, I'm going to connect up the speakers. And again, this is quite fiddly. And again, the way I work these things is to actually just kind of try and feel each pin, so I kind of know where to put things. It's usually, you know, you can actually get these pins. There's, you know, kind of keys, if you will, gaps between the pins. There we go. So now we've got, now we have the other things to be getting on with. So this case is quite good because it has both 2 and 3 pin powered LED connectors. And shall I tell you something else? The motherboard also has both 2 and 3 pin connectors on the power LED, and I plugged the speaker into the wrong. Well done, Jay. You did really well. Oh, and this I've got a cable here that doesn't necessarily want to move out the road. Come on. Out the road. Let me just have a wee feel. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a 4-pin connector, so the speaker the speaker connector will go in there very nicely. Good. And hopefully no arguments. The powered LED, I'm going to use a 2-pin one because it'll that will actually kind of help me you know, find the rest of the connectors, because the power, you've got the 2-pin power LED connector, and next to it the power switch should be connected, and then across from that the hard disk LED should be connected. So yeah, I'll just kind of do what's easiest for me, having to actually literally feel the computer up. HDD LED, good, right, good. Now this system does not have a reset switch or anything like that. So I would say that we're actually done with the front panel connectors. So what I'm going to do is I'll find out where the audio cable goes, and then I'll rejoin you. I would like to thank Gigabyte for having the motherboard manual still available on their website, and I would like to go and plug in the audio connector, which is right underneath the parts. So both connector and header are keyed, so it's just literally a case of plugging it in. And I would say that for a basic install, as in a machine that will power on, or that should power it on, I think we're pretty much done here. So what I will do now is I will go and connect this up, and then we'll power it up. Okay, so I've plugged in the monitor, mouse and keyboard. Now some of you might be thinking, gee, you've not connected any drives. You would be correct in that assumption. See, when you're powering up a system for the first time, it's usually a good idea to not actually connect too much up. Because if there's a problem, you don't want to be complicating the issue. Whereas if you only connect up the bare minimum, you need to make it go. Okay, I have connected like headers for front ports that I'm not needing right now, but well, they were kind of there, so just kind of leave that one out really. But generally speaking, you know, you want, if there is a problem, you want as few components connected as possible so that it's easier to narrow down a possible cause of the problem. Anyway, all that said, smoke test! Whoops! Oh, that didn't, no. Wire caught in the fan, wire caught in the fan. It's not went as well as I was hoping. That's okay though, it's just a case of, you know, kind of rerouting this cable, and then try again. And we have a nice post. So we have 3072 megabytes, of which some has been used for the onboard video. The date and time seem to be, well, the time's half an hour off, but let's not worry too much about that for the time being. It's September the 4th. Excellent. So the system itself seems to intrinsically work. Dual BIOS. Ah, now, you're probably wondering, what is a dual BIOS? You see, this system has 2 BIOS chips in it. No, I kid you not, it actually does. So basically, and this is a good thing about Gigabyte boards, basically, if you flash one of the BIOSes and it completely messes up, then it's still got a working one. It's kind of like a wee bit of an insurance policy. Kind of like it, kind of nice. Really quite good for club-fingered idiots like me. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we'll actually connect some drives up and we'll do it down on the floor. So, first things first, let's grab whatever cables I'm going to be needing. Not sure how well these hard drives work, so you know, we're going to have to kind of do that as a kind of a trial and error thing. So what I'll do is I'll just turn the machine on its side and we'll power it off at the power supply. And really what we need to do here, for the most part it's just a case of connecting connectors into the connections. Now, the floppy connector. Again, like I said, well, this is actually the floppy connector. I did have a very close look at the board, and it says FDD, so that pretty much determines it. One thing I don't like is that it doesn't have the molder in the connector. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm going to power up. I'm going to see if the floppy drive behaves like a floppy drive. Right, so the system powers on, but the floppy drive LED is remaining lit, which says that which basically tells me that the cable is connected the wrong way round. Again, I would like to register my disgust at the way this cable is. Now the floppy drive LED isn't constantly lit. There we go. And now it seems to be just kind of scanning the floppy drive. Excellent. So at least that bit works. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to see if we can add a hard drive. But before we mount it in the case, we're actually going to test it. See if the drive actually responds and powers up and what have you. Because this power supply does not have any SATA connectors on it, we're going to have to use one of these, which is a Molex to SATA adapter. And how it works is you take a regular D-sub, and you plug it into the adapter, and then you plug your SATA device into the other end. Please excuse me. There we go. So the SATA connector is now plugged up. Well, at least the SATA power connector. What I need now is to plug in the SATA cable. Now, I know which is the first SATA connector on the board. So I'm going to plug one end of the SATA cable into that, and I'm going to plug the other end into the hard drive. Now, if the hard drive appears to work, then I will screw it into the chassis. And it does actually appear to work. This is only an 80 gig drive, but hopefully it should be fine. Now, what I want to do is I want to load the optimized defaults and then see what happens. Right. Excellent. So, now I know that this does not constitute a full test of the hard disk drive just to see whether it actually appears at post. But what I want to really do, well, I just kind of wanted to see if it posted, because I know it's like I knew that I had a couple of drives, one worked and one didn't. So, you know, the non-working one, I actually believe this drive did actually work. I just wanted to confirm that. It's just that the system that I was using with didn't. Now, next job, this will be the last job before I close the case, CMOS battery permitting, is I want to take this, whatever you call it, kind of aids the airflow. I want to actually remount it in the case. Now the best way to do it is to have at least one of the brackets mounted to it when you're doing the mounting. Yeah, that sounded healthy, didn't it? Yeah, this is one of the harder parts of this case. But I must admit, you know, I mean, okay, this is a micro ATX case, and you know, all the entertaining things that working in micro ATXs, you know, it comes with all those. But it's not a bad case. You know, I have worked in much worse micro ATX cases. This one really isn't bad. Like I said, one of the most difficult parts about this case is this silly airflow thing. But I've just, you know, oh my goodness, come on. Right, I think I can hinge it up this time. Now, and what I need to do is just kind of secure it in with 2 screws, and, come on, yep. And as soon as that's done, there we go. Yeah. That's 1 screw, and then the next screw will go in. Like this. There we go. And that is how you do that. Excellent. Fantastic wee system there. Okay guys, it's Saturday, September the 5th. It's about 5:30. Folk in Scotland will probably be enjoying their tea right about now. And we'll be reflecting on the video, this video that they obviously saw this morning, because normally I like to have videos uploaded at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, so it follows that this, hang on a minute, no, that's not right, is it? Because I'm still working on this video. And why am I still working on this video? This machine's been giving me some trouble. Now, I do believe that the system works. In fact, I know the system to work. I've booted it into Hirons, and you know, it does actually do everything that it's supposed to do. It loads up, it starts up, and it just works. However, when trying to install Windows on it, it's just not been working. It's taking ages to copy the files over, and then, you know, it gets to the last part of setup where it's supposed to reboot, and then it tells me that a lot of the files are corrupt. So I'm starting to suspect a bit of a dodgy hard disk. However, I have been shopping at, well, turns out this place is not called Kex or CEX, it's actually called Sex. I've been shopping there since 2007, and you know, started shopping there when the one in Aberdeen opened in 2012, and yeah. I should have known something was awry when when I realised that they have two wireless networks running concurrently within the store. One that does not require a key to get into it, called Unprotected Sex, and the other one that does require a key, called Protected Sex. Anyway, I bought myself a 250 gigabyte SATA drive. It's only a Maxstar, but you know, hopefully it should do. Maybe not, actually. Those things usually come faulty. But what we're going to do now is, well, we're going to fit it. And if the drive doesn't work in the system, then I'm sure I can find a home for it somewhere. In fact, I know I will be able to. So, I'll do, just get my toolkit out. I don't know if, I mean, I did get lots of footage, but I've decided to delete it all because, well, we see enough failures on TV, what with the Tories being in power, and I don't need to be videoing any more of them. But I can't remember if I actually was talking about how, you know, I was just going to assume that this 80 gig drive works, because it actually worked on post. Like I said, you can't always assume things. You know, just because a drive powers up and is detected successfully in post and what have you, you can't therefore assume that the thing's going to work. Right, what I'm going to do, when I've been playing a game of cat and mouse with this blooming card reader, if that is the right phrase, that's what I'm doing. I'll just unscrew the hard disk out of these wee metal tabs, and then I'll remove it from the mounting pins on the other side. I'm going to call them mounting pins because it's the most clever sounding name for them. Uh-oh, that's not good. The onboard speaker has become a wee bit on the unwired side. It's not good. That is terrible, actually. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can actually. Rewire it. The positive wires actually came out. What makes this worse is I actually have to drag it out by the other wire. Oh. Yeah. It was soldered. And yeah. And I'm going to be honest here. I mean, I can barely see what's going on. I actually can't. So, tell you what I'll do. I will actually disconnect this from the board. Junk. But I do have, I actually do have another speaker that can go in. It's only a wee squeaker can on 2 short cables, but it'll, you know, it'll do what it's needed to do. So if you get me a wee moment here. Right, there we go. Here it is. What we're going to do is we'll just kind of plug it in to the board, you know, just hopefully it should be good as new. There we go. Now, so the old hard disk, it can come out. I've got to be honest, I really don't think much to these older WD drives. And here we have it, 250 gig SATA drive. Unfortunately, it is a Maxter, but hopefully it'll do the trick. And this is a very old drive because it actually has the D-sub connector. The D-sub? The Molex connector. And actually, do you know what? I'm actually going to use that. So I'll just disconnect this from here. That would actually be really quite useful for me, actually, because it does mean that I will actually be able to, you know, keep my SATA adapter. You know, for systems that kind of need that. There we go. And I'll plug that in. There we go. And then it's just a case, like I said before, of sticking this on the mounting pins and pushing it in and then screwing it back in place. There we go. That's a new hard disk installed. And like I said, it's actually 250 So hopefully, hopefully there will be a storage benefit here. So what we're going to do is I will re-angle the camera to the monitor. There we go. And we'll see if the system actually does what it's supposed to say. First, let me power on the KVM, the monitor and the speakers. Yes, I'm going to need the speakers because, you know, I'll need to know that the machine can power up. Shame about the onboard speaker. Now, I do believe I've left a Windows 7 DVD in here. So what I will do is we'll start up and oh dear. That really isn't very good at all. That's all that's about. Wait a minute, that actually looked like something a bit more promising. No, it didn't. No, I'm going to need to troubleshoot this. Okay, the SATA data cable had came loose, and so I tried to plug it back in, and on doing so, the plastic around the connector broke. So I've tried another SATA cable. It's extremely short, so it's actually quite taut, but hopefully it'll work. This just kind of brings back memories of a few years ago when SATA wasn't actually the most reliable thing in the world. Oh, looks like actually it's detected the drive this time. Indeed it has. Mac Store 251 gig. Oh, look at that, I get an extra gig for free. So what I will do now is yep, there we go, and the squeaker's working as well. What I'll do now is boot up into Windows Setup. So here we are in Windows Setup. Usual drill. English, United Kingdom. And that'll still remain the same, I dare say, once we get our independence. Although one would hope we do get our independence before Windows 7's extended support phase finishes. I really do hope that. I'm just upset that we didn't get our independence before Windows XP support phase finished. Well, not that we would have anyway, but... well. The fat guy can dream! So yeah, I mean, this seems to be running a lot quicker already. I mean, the other drive, it fair dithered about when, you know, I asked it to create a partition. And quite often it just wouldn't. It just sat there going, we can't create a partition. Oh, I don't know. Something's happening on the hard drive. Oh, I don't know. Where's my glass of milk and my newspaper? There's a dog being out for a walk. He loves chasing rabbits. Yeah, it just kind of kept going on in that vein, and the next thing I know, oh,
I couldn't do it. Oh, I just do it anymore. Oh, I can't run like I used to do.
So this will take a while. So yeah, I'll just sit here, enjoy my cup of tea, and I'll come back to you, obviously, when it's done. Okay, one observation I will make is that this phase is going a lot quicker now. A hell of a lot quicker. So what I'm gonna do, hopefully this should work actually. I'm really hoping, because I mean that's just kind of shooting right the way up, whereas before it would literally take a good long while to actually do so. I mean, a good hour at least to do that phase, which on a machine of this sort of spec, it should not take anywhere near that long. But as for the old 80 gig hard drive, I'm actually going to take it apart because recently I've actually been doing something constructive with the platters from old hard disks. I'd like to introduce you to, and I know that these will actually wear down very quickly, but it's a creative way of getting rid of data. I'd like to introduce you to these platters. Now, there is something separating them. What I've done is I bought a pack of rubber feet quite cheaply on eBay. Got 160 of them for about a fiver. Actually less than a fiver. And I've attached four rubber feet to each hard disk platter. And what I've done is I've ended up with some coasters. See that? I think that's pretty good. All right, so the expanding Windows files phase is complete, and now we're on the part of setup where it would normally fail. So really, oh, not a chance. Not a chance at all. So yeah, what's happening here now is we're actually booting into Windows for the first time on here from the hard disk, and yep, it does appear to be working absolutely brilliantly. You know, you do have to wonder about mid-2000s electronics. I mean, it's like, you know, we found out how unreliable they are. You know, we found out in the mid-2000s when we bought them. But now we're really starting to find out again, as some of the items are becoming a wee bit more collectible, and you know, there's folk like Billy Corney and you know a few others actually, you know, making up Windows XP and you know, slightly later gaming machines. You know, just how many of these components like to fail, you know, in quite a regular way compared to, you know, components from 10 years earlier. You know, I mean, I've got I've got computer hard disks from 1995 that'll still work absolutely fine to this day. That's 20 years ago. Whereas this, well, I've peeled the label off of it now because I got bored, is an 80 gig WD drive. And, you know, it is from not very long ago, actually. Oh, and now we've got a display driver installed. So it is actually coming along nicely now. now that I've actually fitted a hard disk that actually works. This complete and installation thing should not go on for too long now. Oh, I can hear the floppy drive seeking, and yep, setup will continue after restarting your computer. Really, this is probably the first Windows 7 machine with an internal floppy drive that I believe I've worked on. My 2007 custom built never had one, unfortunately. Makes me quite sad. The only reason it didn't is because I actually could not get the blanking plate out of that case. It was a... oh no. The case had a bit of an unfortunate name. It was called the GeneTech Phong 2, P-H-O-N-G. But obviously it kind of sounds like something that would be considered a wee bit smaller even than, you know, the net top variety of computers. Even though it was a full ATX size case, it was, even though it was a size, you know, in terms of computers, nearly about the size of a pair of granny panties. You see, this is why I like Cooler Master and Leon Lee, and you know, they don't actually have cases that have got embarrassing names. Right, okay, time to actually set this system up. User dash LNX. Right, I have a product key. I'll put it in. Okay, so here we are. Now we've got the... please excuse me, I'm just kind of rummaging down the back of the machine, make sure the network cable is attached. Help protect your computer. Yes, I do want it to install Windows updates and all that good stuff. Time and date seem to be correct now. All that good stuff. And yes, it's detected the Ethernet card, so I'm just going to connect it to my home network. And, you know, away we go. Windows 7, here we come! La 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 la. I really do hope Billy actually brings that joke to his channel, because if not, I'm going to look like an absolute bampot. Anyway, we're actually at the Windows 7 desktop now. I'm sorry, but before I do anything, I'm going to grow me a mouse pointer. Oop. Right. There we go. There we go. So here we have the Gigabyte install. So what I can do is an express install, and it will install just everything that needs to be installed. And then there's even some application software that I could choose to install if I wanted to. So what I'm going to do, just go to the express install, and then, yeah, I recognise this screen. It looks like an LML3 video. So this, I reckon, will take quite a while. So, you know, I would say that this would be a perfect time to go and make yourself a cup of tea. See, Gigabyte kind of knew that one day I would be working with their boards, so this is why they made it, because they knew that I would actually turn around and say, oh, the express install is brilliant because it means that I can go off and make myself a cup of tea. When I come back, all my drivers will be installed. Okay, I've just come back through with my cup of tea. See? And I found that the install is finished. In fact, it even says, install finished, please reboot your computer. Apparently there's now games on here. I'm really glad that Gigabyte has made this system look like a cheap piece of toilet that came from PC World. Okay. So I think that's pretty much all the drivers installed. What I will do now is well, the battery's kind of running a bit low. So what I want to do now is show you guys the card reader working, and you know, as soon as, and then when I've done that, you know, I'll just kind of I'll just, you know, finish the installation of everything here. I'm going to run a 9-8 thing, but anyway, as you can see, floppy drive and optical drives. It's really nice to actually see a floppy drive icon in Windows 7, knowing that there's no external drive connected to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a CF card into the front of the case, and there we go. It's found it. So it appears that the card reader does work. Let's have a wee look at the games thing. Oh, what do you know, it leads to an internet page. Thanks, lads. Oh, yeah. No. Just no, okay? Okay, so a lot of the programs that I want to install have actually been installed, thanks to 9-8. I'll show you some of them. We have AVG Antivirus, always useful, 7-Zip, Dropbox, FileZilla, Foxit Reader, Google Chrome, Google Drive, Image Burn, iTunes, K-Lite Codec Pack, LibreOffice 5.0, don't think I've seen that one, Notepad++, PDF Creator, Picasa 3, QuickTime, Revo Uninstaller, Skype, Steam, VLC Media Player, and WinRAR. So kind of, you know, I know that there's a couple of programs that kind of do the same things, but it gives, you know, the prospective end user choice. Now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to upgrade the BIOS. Now on this machine, it seems that the BIOS files actually kind of come as something that you would look to be starting within MS-DOS. So having the floppy drive is actually really quite useful. So what I've done is I've formatted a disk. Yeah, I know it's getting a bit dark now. I've formatted a floppy disk, copied the system files onto it, which actually, you can't actually make a bootable floppy disk anymore in Windows 10. Yes, Windows 10 does support floppy disks, but you can't make a floppy disk bootable. Perfectly understandable, given that a lot of machines now, you can have UEFI booting and secure boot and all that good stuff. And I can't imagine that you can actually fit boot files that kind of adhere to that standard onto a floppy disk. Anyway, but because this is good old-fashioned MBR, what we're going to do is we're going to extract the files to the floppy. Oh, and I am so glad that WhatsApp will actually cut me off during recording a video. That's really good of it. Thanks. So I double-clicked on the BIOS file, and it's a self-extracting one. So what I need to do here is just go to // and then I'm going to actually extract it, autoexec.bat. Actually, has this disk been formatted? I'm not sure if it has. I think the best way, what we can do is we can actually format the disk, we'll quick format it, clear it, and then we'll make it bootable. There we go, now it's clean, and now to make it bootable. Just in case you're wondering what a boot disk made with Windows 7 will boot into, the answer is MS-DOS 8, the version of DOS that came with Windows Millennium Edition. And yes, it did come with DOS. Yes, it was still a DOS-based operating system, no matter how hard Microsoft tried to hide it. And they did try hard. They tried so hard that, you know, by default, unless you actually severely tweak Windows ME, you can't actually drop down to DOS mode, or even start up in DOS mode. But it is still there. But yeah, I mean, every version from Windows Millennium Edition through to Windows 8.1, so that's Windows ME, XP, Vista, 7, 8, 8.1, if you make a bootable floppy disk, it will actually make it bootable into DOS 8. Right, so once again we're going to open the BIOS extractor, and then extract it to /. Okay, so this maybe does have its own auto exec, but we're going to replace that. And then, you know, hopefully that will just extract. Excellent. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to shut down the machine and restart it. Now, can you please bear with me a wee minute, because I'll need to know which you know, best way of booting from a floppy disk. I can't remember how I set everything up. Now I've noticed this machine is running quite quickly actually, which is quite nice. But I can imagine that will change once it's got 500,000 updates on it. Right, let's see now. F12 boot menu. There we go. What I want to do is boot from the floppy disk. And what this will do is it has a batch script, autoexec.bat, which will actually just go ahead and flash the BIOS. So it's actually going to flash it to the latest version. Now Gigabyte's BIOS did actually have a flashing utility within it, but you know, if you wanted to you know, flash it the old-fashioned way using a DOS bootable floppy disk, and there you go. SPI flash BIOS update is completed. Excellent. So what I can do now, remove the floppy disk, and just kind of see where we are. I just powered the machine off. I'll power it off here as well. I'm going to power it back on. And see how badly I've destroyed it. Oh no, post beep. And you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of see if anything has changed in the CMOS and what have you. BIOS version FI. I don't know if that was the version that was on here. It's quite odd how this board doesn't have a splash screen, really. Optimized defaults, standard CMOS settings, yep, there we go. Standard BIOS settings, again, yep, here we go. USB keyboard, smart LAN, all that sort of good stuff. Power management. Let's have a look at the PC health status. Oh, talking of which, actually, Virtualization technology, is that enabled? Yes, it is. PC health status, yeah, good. MB intelligent tweaker. System optimized, blah 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 blah, yeah, okay. Apparently really good for overclocking, this board is. Let's have a look at the date and time, September the 5th, 2015, 1942, yep, that seems to be the correct time, 20 to 8. And the nights are really drawing in now. And what I will do is I will format this floppy disk so that I don't inadvertently boot from it and try and flash a computer with the BIOS for this motherboard. But yeah, I mean, that all seems to work. So yeah, I'm successfully flashed. Now, when working on a computer, you know, flashing the BIOS, it can be very dangerous. You can. So, you know, if power is cut, if anything cuts the power to the machine, you're going to find that you could basically scramble your BIOS chips. But, you know, if you make sure your machine's okay, then, you know, and you actually make sure you've got the BIOS for the system, you know, for the actual system, make sure that the model number matches up exactly, you know, model number of the board, model number of the BIOS. Only download the BIOS from the motherboard manufacturer's website. You know, just kind of useful things like that. And generally, you know, if you're not sure what you're doing, only upgrade the BIOS. In fact, a lot of computer magazines and what have you do tell you only upgrade the BIOS if you've been advised to do so, you know, by a technician or the motherboard manufacturer or what have you. You know, if you're experiencing problems with your machine that a BIOS update has actually been released to fix. But on the other hand, why do I update BIOSes? Well, I like to actually update the BIOS on systems, just so I know that you know, they've got the latest possible incantation of it, so that actually, you know, I know that it'll run as stable as possible. AVG antivirus is installed but not set up. As you can see, updates are required, so basically what I've done is I've went into AVG, I'm just going to hit the Fix Now button. And then what that's going to do is go away and actually update the antivirus software. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to have it so that user account control does not draw a black background, a dark background around the dialog box. That can interrupt screen magnification, so if a prospective user of this machine is going to use the magnifier, it won't disrupt that. And sometimes it can just take a while for it to initialize that, you know, and that's kind of needless resources. So yeah, as we're going absolutely tickety-boo there, the updates, the AVG update is going absolutely fine, and you know, the BIOS has been updated, Steam has been updated, so we're almost ready. Just got a couple more things to install, and you know, we'll be back. Okay, I would say that pretty much everything is installed. I've got a nice wee picture of the Grampian Mountains in Balatar, and we have Microsoft Office Starter 2010, which I think, you know, for basic usage, it's probably not too bad. And there's LibreOffice on here, should the user want anything a wee bit more powerful. Or they could choose to actually upgrade to a more fully featured version of Microsoft Office, either 2010 or 2013. Or uninstall it completely, as may be the case. But here it is, Word Starter. Now, for those of you who are wondering what Office Starter is, or was, Office Starter, and I think it only really existed in Office 2010, might have existed in Office, actually I don't know if it did exist in Office 2007, my memory's playing tricks on me, I don't think it did. But Office 2010 Starter is basically just a version of Office that OEMs could preload onto systems that was basic. You'd buy it from Microsoft for, I think, a fiver, as an OEM disc, and what it is a stripped down version of Word and Excel, which is ad supported. So, for example, you've got this wee sidebar that's kind of like the Office 2002 Access task pane. That actually shows you about getting started with Office, do more, get free templates, clip art, that sort of thing, and then there's a small wee advert. Nothing too intrusive, actually, as you can probably see, and I really don't know why this sound is showing an X. There we go, because this sound does work on here. Well, the advertisements do seem to be a wee bit outdated. Get more, get Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Outlook. So I wonder if that means you get a starter edition of the two, or whether it's just kind of saying, hey, if you want these things, the good way to get it is to upgrade to Office Home and Student. Or now it would actually just kind of point you to Office 365. Office for Household, $7.99 a month, $79.99 a year. Office 365 Personal, $5.99 a month or $59.99 a year. Get a £10 Microsoft Store voucher when you buy a yearly subscription. So yeah, and then you've got the different versions: Office Home and Student, Office Home and Business, Office Professional. But yeah, I mean, if you're just a household, with basic needs, kids doing homework, that sort of stuff, this was absolutely brilliant, and I quite liked it in the way that OEMs could once again load something useful onto the computers. It's a shame that they discontinued it with Office 2013, really. But yeah. Anyway, why don't we play some games? Why don't we really kind of open the taps up on the system with some open source games? I'm just going to move this tripod down a wee bit. I don't know if it's the cable that I'm using or what it is, but it just, the sound from the system seems to be a wee bit distorted. I mean, I was watching some music videos and it sounded pure niffet. I made it to first place in the high score, but I didn't advance. Okay, well that's fine, that seems to work. Well, this is the machine finally finished. Finally. So, with that, it's time to conclude this video. Really sorry about the length, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it though. If you have, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Also feel free to like the channel on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. But until then, thank you for watching, and please join me for my next video. Meanwhile, I'm going to have to answer all those emails that have just suddenly decided to appear while I was trying to talk. Thanks guys, you've had all day to email me and you chose it. You chose to do it now. Great stuff. Have a bun. You deserve it. Anyway, I hope you'll all join me for my next video. Cheery bye. Sorry guys, this will only take a minute. I've just done something very neat with this computer. Okay, so the machine is powered off. Now, let's power it on. Did you see that? That was my old business logo. Just a shame that the business had to cease trading. I always wanted to see my post screen on my logo on a post screen. I tell you. You know you've made it when your name appears in a computer's post screen. Anyway, like I said, this is really the end of the video now. So, cutie bye.